Hello! So if you missed class, then what we are going to be doing is just a watercolor practice. It's nothing too crazy, but we are going to start off with an intensity scale. Watercolor by nature is transparent, and the more water you use, the more transparent it becomes. The less water, more opaque. That's the word I want. So I'm drawing a few squares here. About 8 would work. They're not really an intensity scale, more like a value scale. I'm going to only be using 2 colors for this. It's going to be a color and it's going to be black. Okay, I have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, and about here is going to be my true color, or my true hue. It is going to be darkest, and this is going to be the lightest. My watercolors all prepped out. Now, if you haven't used watercolors before, it's really not that difficult. It's more or less just trying to have control over your medium. And everything is activated with, you guessed it, water. I'm assuming most of you in the class have used this before, especially if you've had R1, but, you know, who am I to judge? So this is a nice red. We're going to activate that one. I'm just squeezing, I think I'm doing it off camera, a couple drops of water to activate my paint from my brush. And I'm going to give it, so I have some really vivid paint on here. I'm going to go ahead and paint that first square. Oh, I got orange. I thought I got red. Oh, orange works too. So that is the true hue of my water color. I have a different palette than what you do at school, mostly just because I wanted to play with this palette. If you're ever interested, this is a koi palette. So I'm bringing a bit of the watercolor into my extra palette here. If you do not have like an extra side, or if it's really dirty, either wipe it out or get a plate and use that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more water to it. And what's going to happen, it's going to end up getting lighter. More water. And then more water. You can see, you can barely see that comparatively. Oh, my wire's in the way, sorry. To how it is. And I probably went way too fast with that water also, but it's okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding some black to it once I figure out what my black is on this palette here. Again, I'm just squeezing some droplets of water onto my color, or I'm just letting a little bit of water get onto my color here to activate it. I'm not going to put black directly on here. It's not the purpose of what I'm doing here. Now black is very powerful, so I'm going to get some of my true color first before I even think about putting that into that little, like, really transparent droplet that I made. I'm going to put the tiniest bit of black in there, and I'm going to paint directly on there. And you can see how it's already starting to become more, it's becoming darker, just like a tiniest bit of black. Another little drop of black. And if you feel if it's too transparent, add more to it. Or wait for it to dry and add another layer. Get a little more black there. And I'm just adding more and more black to my color. Now what I'm doing is actually a dry brush. It's a wet on dry technique. My paint is wet and my paper's dry. So that's the first thing to do, is going from your true color to getting it very transparent with water, and then going from your true color to adding a little bit of black every step till you're very dark. And you'll see like how much black goes very quickly, actually. Okay, next we're going to do the same thing with the 8 squares, but we're going to do a grayscale. So similarly, it's going to be about the same as that, what we were doing with this, going to the lightest color, but with black. And we're going to be adding like a little bit of water as we go to it. So I'm going to make 8 more squares. 6, 7, 8. If it bothers you that they're not straight, use a ruler. That's all I can tell you there. I'm going to dry off my brush a little bit. Make sure you have a paper towel with you. That way, hey, I had black on there. That way you can clean your brush off in between colors. Always clean your brush off in between colors. That's how you ruin your color. And you see, this is a lot of pigment really quickly. Or just a daddy bit of water to my thing. And now it's already becoming more transparent. Water. Those two look very similar, and that's okay. It's all about practice. All about learning how to control how much water you got into your brush, how much color you got. Watercolor can be tricky, but it can be really fun. I really enjoy watercolor. Am I a watercolor artist? No. But that's okay. And finally, just keep adding water to it and get to that very light color. And you can see there is a difference between these as they go up. So that is my grayscale. Okay. Next, we're going to just do a couple little things. It says like experimentation. I'm going to draw 3 rectangles. Again, they don't have to be perfect. This is just practice. Okay. Clean my brush. Alright, so this first one we're going to do a gradient by using water. So let's see, we'll do this pretty purple here. Okay. I want to add my purple, or I'm sorry, not purple. Apparently it's like ultramarine blue. I apparently can't tell the difference. What kind of art teacher am I? And put some of that down. And I'm going to get water and go onto the paper here. I'm going to start dragging that out with more and more water. Maybe even get a little bit more on there. On my brush here, and kind of pull it. It's very wet right now because I have watercolor paper down right now. Not really what I was going for there. Imagine that. I'm gonna try this one again. Here. Because I'm new to these watercolors, and yeah. I'm gonna try it again. And it's okay to try it again. I'm gonna get a lot of pigment down here. My brush kind of wet, and then I'm going to start pulling this up. There we go. That's a little better now. You can see that there's a gradient. Make sure your brush is clean and you're pulling the color up. And you get a nice wash. Overall color with watercolor is usually called a wash. There we go. Okay. You get the gist. Watercolor one in, and then work your way down. I'm gonna erase this because I messed up on the one. But hey, you know, this would be like a flat wash here. This is more of a gradient. It's not a perfect gradient from what I did, but it'll work for what I need to show you here. This next one is going to be complementary colors going into one another. So the complementary colors are like blue and orange, purple and yellow, and red and green. So I already got my blue activated here, so that works for that. I'm going to go ahead and get my blue on one side. I'm going to paint too much. I'm not going to go quite in the center. Get my brush cleaned before I go into my orange. So don't want any messes with that. Ooh, that's really pigmented. And then I got my orange down. And now I'm just going to add water in between them. You can even go back and add some more color to get it to bleed a little bit more. To get them to kind of blend in that center. What's going to happen is it's going to become kind of muddy because complementary colors are technically all the colors, like primary colors together. It might come up like a kind of a brown or a gray. Just trying to get them to mix a little more. There we go. So I have my blue to my orange and kind of mixing in the center. You can do purple and yellow. You can do green, red, see how that comes out. If you want to try all three of those combinations, go for it. It'll work for anything. And this last one is just kind of a play box for a wet on wet technique. I'm going to get my paper nice and wet. And then I'm just going to add some colors to it. I'm adding some more water to it too. Try to get it to where I know it's going to blend. Kind of stippling my brush too. Now if I add a color that's not quite the same, like say this one, you can get some neat effects that way too. Because I'm putting paint onto wet paper, so it's kind of dispersing and moving around. So yeah, if you're home, you have watercolors at home, awesome. If you are just working on this at school, like during your jam, awesome as well. Or if you're just following along because you don't want to follow along with me in class at school too. But yeah, these are the little techniques I'm going to have you do. Have fun, play around, you know, see what your brushes can do with, you know, just water on them, or, you know, play around type thing. But yeah, I'll see you in class, guys. Bye!